What if I told you that a single, almost forgotten mistake didn't just change a season or a team, but it completely rewired the DNA of the entire modern NBA? Well, that is exactly the wild story we're going to break down today.
So let's get right into it. We're starting by zeroing in on this one moment, this original mistake. Think of it as the start of a massive chain reaction, a butterfly effect that seriously shapes every contract holdout, every superstar trade demand you see flashing across your screen today.
I know, it's a huge claim, right? But stick with me, because once you see the connection, you absolutely cannot unsee it. This one decision really does touch everything.
Okay, so to really feel the weight of this mistake, we have to hop in the time machine. We're going back to the late 1970s. And you gotta understand, the NBA was not the global powerhouse it is now. Not even close. It was a league that was literally fighting for its own survival. The situation was pretty dire. I mean, you have to picture this. The league was just hemorrhaging money. The biggest stars in the sport were playing in arenas that were barely half full on a good night. The buzz, the energy, it just wasn't there. And it was way worse than just empty seats. The whole thing felt like it was built on a house of cards. I'm talking about entire franchises just going under. Owners were genuinely not sure if their teams would even exist in a few years. And here it is. This is the one detail that tells you everything you need to know. The NBA Finals, the championship series, was shown on tape delay after the late night news. Let that sink in for a second. The league's biggest event of the year was considered less important than the local weather report. That's how little people cared. So, facing this total crisis, what do? Well, the league made a choice, and it was a choice born out of pure fear. Instead of embracing the incredible power of their athletes, they decided to build a system of rules and contracts designed to do one thing: control them, to limit their movement, contain their influence. And that right there, that was the mistake. So the league builds this cage, right? The system designed for total control. And then, almost immediately, something happens that nobody could have possibly seen coming. They accidentally discovered creatures that were way, way too big to ever be caged. The timing is just unbelievable when you look at it. The mistake is made, and then bam, within just a couple of years, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird arrive on the scene. And then a few years after that, Michael Jordan gets drafted. They walk directly into a league structure that was fundamentally at odds with everything they were about to become. You know, Magic and Bird didn't just save the NBA with their talent. They immediately started pulling at the threads of this new system. They exposed the central flaw. All of a sudden, individual players were a bigger deal than the teams they played for, and the league's whole system of control started to buckle. And then came Michael Jordan. And if Magic and Bird created a crack, Jordan came in with a sledgehammer. This wasn't just a little tension anymore. It was an all-out war. On one side, you had the league trying to maintain control, and on the other, you had one guy proving that a single person could be more valuable, more powerful than the entire institution. That idea absolutely terrified the people in charge. He broke the whole model. Now, all those battles from the 80s and 90s, they didn't just vanish into thin air. They created a pressure cooker environment, and that pressure just kept building and building for decades until it finally, inevitably, had to find an escape valve. And we call that escape valve the player empowerment era. You can draw a perfectly straight line here. It's a clear domino effect. The league's need for control creates all this pressure. Jordan shows everybody that an individual can fight the system and win. A whole new generation of players is watching, they're taking notes. And what's the result? The Superteam Era. Player mobility. Stars taking control and saying, you know what, we're calling the shots now. And this brings us to LeBron James and the decision. A lot of people saw that as just, this wildly arrogant TV special. But when you look at it through this lens, it was something else entirely. It was the system rupturing in the most public way you could imagine. It was the logical conclusion of decades of pressure finally blowing the lid off. But the story doesn't stop there, of course. The NBA is maybe the most adaptive sports league in the world. It has absolutely responded to this era of player power. But that fundamental tension, the one that was created by that original mistake, oh yeah, it's still here. I mean, just look at the league today. The latest labor agreements, these incredibly complex second apron tax rules, all the new restrictions trying to slow down player movement, these aren't random. This is the league trying to put the guardrails back up. It's their modern-day attempt to regain some of that control they lost so long ago. So, it all leads us back to this one massive question that the league has never really been able to answer. Who is actually in charge here? Who does pro basketball belong to? Is it the owners who invest the money? Is it the players whose talent is the product? Or is it the fans who make the whole thing possible in the first place? The league is still trying to find the answer.
And that leaves us here. Looking back, that mistake was probably inevitable for a league that was just trying to stay afloat. But the real miracle isn't that the mistake happened. The miracle is what the NBA became because of it. All that conflict, all that tension, it accidentally forged the dramatic, star-driven global league that we just can't stop watching today. The very mistake that threatened to break it somehow ended up making it.